I want you to picture a scenario. It's a gray, kind of damp Tuesday in Wales. You are driving a brand new, cutting-edge car.
Top of the line.
Exactly. The road ahead of you is completely empty. There's no traffic, no deer jumping out of the hedges, nothing. Just empty asphalt. You are doing about 30 miles per hour, nice and steady.
You're not even really driving, are you? You're cruising.
Just cruising.
Yeah.
You aren't touching the brake. You aren't touching the accelerator. And then in the blink of an eye, your car screams. It decides with absolute 100% conviction that there is a human being hovering in midair right in front of your bumper.
And not just hovering, traveling backwards at 30 miles per hour.
It's completely impossible.
And this isn't a little warning beep. The car is certain. It doesn't just suggest you brake. It takes command. It slams on the brakes with maximum emergency force.
It brings 2 tons of metal to a dead stop in seconds.
An instant stop.
It sounds like a ghost story, doesn't it? A phantom in the machine. But this isn't science fiction. This is a very real, very expensive crash that happened recently during a filming session by the team at What Car?
A fantastic publication, by the way.
Absolutely. And this whole incident involves the new 2026 Mercedes CLA, a Tesla Model 3 that got turned into a sandwich, a very confused photographer, and a glitch that, well, it forces us to question everything we think we know about smart cars.
It is such a fascinating case study because it sits right at the intersection of, well, reality and code. And we are going to spend a lot of time on this specific crash today because it's the perfect entry point. It's not just about a sensor making a mistake.
No, it's bigger than that.
It is. It's about a fundamental conflict between the way the world actually works, physics, gravity, context, and the way a computer thinks the world works.
So for our deep dive today, we are going to unpack that What Car incident in forensic detail. We're going to look at Mercedes-Benz's response, which, frankly, is a masterclass in corporate logic that makes you want to pull your hair out.
It's something else, that statement.
And then we are going to zoom way out. We need to look at the broader ecosystem of Mercedes engineering to understand this. We're going to look at the ultra-luxury Maybach S680 that claims it can read the road surface like a book.
And we are going to look at the absolute nightmare that is the G-Wagon.
The G-Wagon is so key here, isn't it?
It is. It seems unrelated, a big, boxy off-roader, but the way its systems interact, and more importantly, the way they fail, it tells us the same story as the CLA crash. It's about complexity. It's about what happens when you layer so many systems on top of each other that the car becomes this fragile web of logic baits.
So settle in. We're looking at the 2026 model year technology. This is the stuff that is supposed to be the best of the best, the safest of the safe.
But as we'll see, sometimes safe is the most dangerous thing you can be.
Let's start at the scene of the crime. The What Car team was out in Wales. Now, for anyone who hasn't been on a car magazine shoot, this is a pretty standard day at the office, right? They were setting up a tracking shot.
Right. And for the uninitiated, a tracking shot is how you get those beautiful dynamic visuals you see in reviews or commercials. It's a staple of the industry. You have a lead car, the camera car driving ahead.
Okay.
And behind it, you have the subject car, in this case, the new Mercedes CLA. They drive at the same speed, maintaining a fixed distance, so the camera can get a smooth, steady shot of the car in motion.
It sounds simple enough, but there's a crucial human element here. To get that perfect head-on shot, the photographer isn't sitting in the passenger seat, are they?
Not at all. They're usually strapped into the open boot, the trunk of the lead car, facing backwards.
Which, if you saw that on the motorway, you'd call the police.
You absolutely would. But in this context, it's normal. They are in a proper safety harness, secured to the vehicle's chassis, sitting with their legs dangling out or crossed, holding a heavy camera rig, pointing it directly at the Mercedes following them.
So it's industry standard. It looks a little wild, but on a closed or quiet road during a shoot, it's routine.
Completely routine.
So let's paint the picture of the convoy. We have the camera car in front, photographer in the boot. Behind it, the Mercedes CLA, driven by Will, one of the testers.
A very experienced driver.
Of course. Then, behind the Mercedes is a Tesla Model 3. And bringing up the rear, there was an MG IM5. So the line of 4 cars.
And the conditions are so important here. It's damp. This is Wales, after all, but the visibility is good. It's not foggy, not raining heavily.
No excuses from the weather.
None. And they are traveling at low speeds, roughly 25 to 30 miles per hour. This isn't a high-speed chase. It's a slow, controlled cruise.
Okay, so the shot is done. The photographer gives the signal. The driver of the camera car finishes the run and gently, smoothly steers to the left, changing lanes to let the convoy pass, or maybe just to reset for another take.
And this is the critical physics moment. As the camera car moves away, the gap between it and the Mercedes CLA actually increases.
Right. The distance is opening up. The threat, if there ever even was one, is actively moving away. There is more empty road in front of the Mercedes than there was a second ago.
Logically, the situation is becoming safer with every passing moment.
And yet, in that exact moment of increasing safety, the Mercedes CLA completely loses its mind. The autonomous emergency braking system, the AEB, activates.
And we are not talking about a pre-safe warning where the seatbelts tighten up and a light flashes on the dash.
Yeah, no, this is the main event.
This is full lockup. The car applied 100% braking force instantly. Now, think about the dynamics of that. You're doing 30-mile aero. It's like you've driven into a wall of invisible force. The nose of the car dives. The tires scrub the damp asphalt. The car goes from moving to stationary in a heartbeat.
And Will, the driver, he's just a passenger at this point, isn't he? He didn't touch the pedal. He's probably clutching the wheel, heart hammering, wondering what on earth he just hit.
But he didn't hit anything in front of him.
He just stopped on a sixpence.
But physics doesn't stop, does it? The Tesla Model 3 behind him was following at a reasonable distance for a steady cruise. But when the car in front of you effectively turns into a statue, reaction time is everything.
There's the human reaction time, and then there's the car's reaction time.
Exactly. The Tesla driver has to process what's happening, move his foot to the brake, and then the Tesla's own systems have to engage and build pressure.
And the Tesla did brake. It slammed on its brakes, too.
Yeah.
Its own AEB system fired.
It did. But on a damp road, stopping distance is a matter of physics, not just software. You can't cheat friction. The tires have a finite amount of grip. The Tesla slid right into the back of the motionless Mercedes.
Crunch.
A loud, expensive crunch. And the MG behind the Tesla just barely managed to stop, swerving to avoid making it a three-car pileup.
So you have a crash, a significant rear-end collision, damage to the CLA, damage to the Tesla, and the most important fact of all, there was absolutely nothing in the road.
Nothing.
This is the part that drives me crazy. If you or I were driving that Mercedes and we just slammed on the brakes for absolutely no reason, we'd be at fault, wouldn't we?
100%. We'd be cited for reckless driving.
But here, the car did it. The driver, Will, was completely baffled. The Tesla driver was, I imagine, furious. They get out, they look around, no deer, no child running across the road, just the camera car driving away in the distance, probably wondering what all the noise was about.
It creates this bizarre liability vacuum. Usually a rear-end crash is the fault of the person behind. The classic excuse is you were following too closely.
Right, tailgating.
But was the Tesla really tailgating? Or did the Mercedes perform a maneuver so unpredictable, so completely irrational, that no human could possibly be expected to react in time? It effectively brake-checked the Tesla.
A robot brake check.
Precisely.
So naturally, what car wants answers? This is a huge deal. They take the footage, they pull the data from the car, and they send it all to Mercedes-Benz HQ in Germany. They basically say, hey, your robot car just caused a pileup. Explain this.
And the response they got is, well, it's a work of art. It's legally bulletproof and technically fascinating, but it feels completely disconnected from the reality of driving a car.
So Mercedes investigated the data logs from the CLA, and their official statement was that the system, and I'm quoting here, correctly detected a potential collision risk with a pedestrian.
Correctly. That is the word that just hangs in the air, isn't it?
How on earth can they say correctly when the result is two smashed-up cars on the side of a Welsh road?
This is where we have to try and get into the brain of the car. We have to talk about sensor fusion. Modern cars like this new CLA use a combination of tools to see the world.
It's not just one thing.
No, it's a team. They use radar and they use cameras. Sometimes they use LiDAR, but for this kind of system, it's primarily radar and cameras working together.
Okay, so just to break that down.
Yeah.
The radar sends out radio waves, they bounce off stuff, and that tells the car how far away an object is and how fast it's moving.
Right. It's great for distance and velocity. The camera, on the other hand, is for classification. It takes pictures and uses image recognition software to try and figure out what the objects are. Is that a car, a truck, a bicycle?
Or a person.
Or a person. Now think about the scenario from the car's point of view. The camera looks ahead. It sees the back of the lead car. But the trunk is open, and inside that open trunk is a person.
The photographer.
Yes. The image recognition software has been trained on millions, maybe billions of images of humans. It sees a face, it sees shoulders, it sees a torso. It runs the pattern match and says, match found. That is a pedestrian. It has a high confidence score in that classification.
Okay, so the camera says pedestrian. But the radar must be seeing something else, surely. The radar sees a big metal box, the camera car, and that whole box is moving away at 30 millivolts.
Exactly. This is the conflict. The radar sees one large object moving away. The Doppler shift to the return signal says, this object is retreating, its distance from us is increasing. Physics says there is no collision course.
So you have a direct contradiction in the data. The camera is screaming, danger, pedestrian right in front of us. The radar is calmly saying, relax, it's just a car driving away. Why did the car listen to the panicked camera?
Because of the hierarchy of safety logic programmed into it. In the world of autonomous emergency braking, a pedestrian is a high-priority threat class, a vulnerable road user. The system is programmed from the factory to prioritize the protection of pedestrians above almost everything else.
So it's a better safe than sorry approach.
A very aggressive one. If the camera is shouting, human, 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 the system's logic is designed to trust that input, even if it contradicts the radar's logic that says it's moving away. It assumes the radar might be missing something, or perhaps that the human is a separate entity that could suddenly jump out of the car.
But that's insane. Context matters. A human being hovering 4 feet off the ground, moving backwards at 30 miles per hour, is clearly not a pedestrian about to step into the road. Why can't the computer figure out that basic fundamental context?
Because it doesn't have common sense. That's not a thing for a computer. It has classification confidence scores and pre-programmed rules. It doesn't know what a photographer in a trunk is. It hasn't been trained on that specific unusual edge case.
So it just defaults to the simplest explanation.
It sees the pattern of pixels that equals human, and the logic gate in its programming says, if human detected in direct path, then initiate emergency stop. Full stop. No further questions.
And Mercedes, in their statement, they actually said that this is, quote, not a typical scenario encountered on a public road.
Which is, technically true. It isn't typical.
But hang on, is it really that weird? What about a kid making funny faces out the back window of a station wagon on a family trip?
That's a great question.
What about a construction worker sitting on the tailgate of a pickup truck at a job site? What about a bike rack that has a bicycle on it that, from a certain angle, looks vaguely skeletal?
That is the whole problem, isn't it? If the system is this brittle, if it can be so thoroughly tricked by a photographer in a completely controlled environment, what happens when you're driving behind a truck carrying mannequins? Or a huge poster on the back of a bus with a giant face on it?
It feels like the car is hallucinating. It's literally seeing ghosts. And the really scary part is Mercedes seems to think this is acceptable behavior because the system identified the shape correctly. They're basically patting themselves on the back for spotting the human,
while completely ignoring the fact that the reaction to spotting that human was catastrophic and wrong.
They're prioritizing what's called a false positive over a false negative.
Exactly. In safety engineering, a false negative is the ultimate disaster. That's when there is a child in the road and the car fails to stop. That is an absolute tragedy.
Unacceptable.
A false positive, on the other hand, is when there is nothing in the road and the car does stop. That is usually just an annoyance. Your coffee spills, you get a little jolt. No big deal.
Usually. But in this specific case, the false positive caused a real physical crash.
Correct. And that is where the entire safety equation breaks down. When the safe reaction becomes the direct cause of the accident, the logic is fundamentally flawed.
Now, here is where the story gets, I think, even darker. You might be sitting there thinking, okay, weird film shoot, weird photographer situation, it's a 1 in a million chance.
A freak accident.
Right. But the What Car team revealed that this wasn't the first time this specific Mercedes CLA had panicked.
No. And the second incident is, in my opinion, much more concerning for the average driver out there.
So Will, the same driver, was doing the school run a few days before the big crash. He's got his daughters in the back of the car. He's driving through town.
A normal everyday trip.
Totally normal. He's in a one-way system where 2 lanes have to merge into one. We've all done this 1,000 times. It's the classic zipper merge.
It's a standard traffic negotiation. You ease over, the other car eases over. You get a little close to each other, but it's all controlled and expected.
So, a car in the outside lane merges in front of Will's CLA. And by all accounts, there was plenty of space. It wasn't an aggressive cutoff or anything dangerous. It was just a normal merge.
A predictable maneuver.
And wham! The CLA slams on the brakes again. Full emergency stop. in the middle of merging traffic.
Imagine that. You are just flowing with traffic 1 second, and the next your head is snapped forward by the seatbelt.
Will said his 5-year-old daughter complained that her neck hurt afterwards. That's how violent and unexpected the stop was, and there was absolutely no reason for it. The other car had already merged. It was in the lane and moving away.
It's the same pattern of behavior. The system misjudged the trajectory and intent. It likely saw the merging car coming into its lane, and its calculations screamed, intersecting path.
It predicted a crash that wasn't going to happen.
It did, because it failed to account for the fact that the other car would straighten out and accelerate away. It treated a fluid, normal traffic situation as a purely mathematical collision course. It can't read human intent.
But here is the real kicker. When What Car asked Mercedes about this incident. Incident number 2, the school run panic. What do they say?
They said nothing. Or rather, they said they couldn't analyze it.
Why not?
Because there was no crash.
That is genuinely terrifying.
It is. Because the car didn't actually hit anything, the black box, the event data recorder, didn't lock the data. To the car's main computer, it was a non-event. Just a momentary, albeit severe, brake application. There was nothing to investigate.
So we have a system that is potentially freaking out all the time, causing near misses, scaring drivers, giving 5-year-olds sore necks, and there is no official record of it happening.
It suggests that these phantom braking events might be far more common than manufacturers are willing to admit. We only ever hear about them when metal hits metal. But how many people are driving around right now thinking, whoa, why did my car just do that? And then just shrugging it off and moving on.
It feels like the car is gaslighting you. It's constantly telling you, danger, danger, when there is no danger. Eventually, you're going to start to mistrust the car, aren't you? You'll start keeping your foot hovering over the accelerator, ready to override it.
Which completely defeats the entire purpose of the safety system in the first place. If you are actively fighting the safety features, they aren't safety features anymore. They're adversaries you have to manage.
So we have the entry-level CLA behaving like a nervous wreck. But the line from Mercedes is always that this technology trickles down from the top. From the flagship, the S-Class, the Maybach. Surely, if you spend $250,000, the car is smarter.
You would hope so, wouldn't you? And if you look at the marketing and the tech sheets for the 2026 Mercedes Maybach S680, it sounds like pure science fiction. We dug into reports from Faisal Khan and MVP Auto on this beast. It is just packed with sensors.
It's not just a car at that point. It's a bodyguard on wheels. Let's talk about e-active body control.
This is incredible technology, at least on paper. The car uses stereo cameras mounted at the top of the windscreen to scan the road surface ahead of you. It sees a bump, a pothole, a speed bump.
It sees it coming.
It sees it coming, and it calculates the depth and the shape of the imperfection. Then, milliseconds before the wheel actually hits that bump, it adjusts the hydraulic pressure in the suspension at that specific corner to perfectly absorb it.
It effectively erases the bump from existence for the passengers. It anticipates reality and smooths it out.
It's proactive, not reactive. And then there is impulse side safety. This one is truly wild. If the side-facing radar sensors detect an imminent T-bone crash a car speeding towards your door, the air suspension instantly fires. It lifts the entire side of the car up by 80 millimeters, about 3 inches.
The car jumps sideways.
It jumps up. The whole car just lifts on the side of the impact. The idea is to present the much stronger door sill, the frame of the car, to the oncoming vehicle, rather than the relatively weaker door panel. It physically moves the most vulnerable parts of the car out of the primary impact zone. It's brilliant.
It sounds like the car is alive. It's thinking. It's reacting to protect you. This is the promise, isn't it? A car that sees everything and keeps you safe.
That is the promise, but, and there is always a but, all of this magic, all of this proactive protection relies on one single fundamental thing.
The sensors have to be right.
The sensors have to be right. The interpretation of the data has to be perfect.
Because if the sensors are wrong, the car jumps for no reason. Or it softens the suspension for a pothole that's just a shadow, and you get this weird floaty feeling in a corner.
Precisely. And we have evidence that even the flagship S-Class isn't immune to the stupidity of AI. We looked at a really interesting review from the Middle Lane channel. The presenter was testing an S-Class with all these bells and whistles, and he tried to do something very simple. Park the car.
Those laughs. Oh, this was painful to watch. I saw this one. He engages Auto Park Assist. The car scans the street, finds a suitable parallel parking spot. The screen says ready. He takes his hands off the wheel and says, "Okay, Mercedes, take it away."
The car starts reversing. The initial angle looks good, but then it just gets confused. It seems to miss its curb reference point or misjudges the space. It keeps reversing past the spot.
It ended up perpendicular to the road. It was sticking out, blocking both lanes of traffic. Cars are backing up behind him, people are honking, and the S-Class is just sitting there, turning the steering wheel back and forth, completely lost and paralyzed.
It lost its spatial awareness. That AI got confused by the simple geometry of the real world. A human would have just corrected and pulled in. The car just gave up.
And then they did the brake test. With Sive.
Ugh, poor Clive.
Clive was a foam dummy, I should clarify, dressed up as a production assistant. They stood him in the road and drove the S-Class at him to test the autonomous emergency braking.
Now, in the glossy Mercedes brochure, the S-Class is supposed to glide to a smooth, controlled stop inches from the pedestrian dummy.
Yeah, that's not what happened.
In the test.
Yeah.
Well, it did stop. It didn't hit Clive.
It stopped eventually. It braked so late and so violently that if Clive had been a real person, he would have had a heart attack. The nose of the car was practically touching his knees when it finally skidded to a halt.
It was a pass, technically speaking. The system worked. But it was a terrifying pass. It shows that even the most expensive, most advanced sensor suite in the world is operating right on the ragged edge of physics. It waits until the last possible millisecond to be 100% sure the threat is real, and then it throws out the anchor with maximum force.
So if the $250,000 S-Class struggles to park without causing a traffic jam and scares the life out of a foam dummy, is it really any surprise that the entry-level CLA sees a photographer and panics?
It's the same DNA, isn't it? It's the same underlying logic. The ambition of the software is outpacing the reliability of its interpretation of the real world.
And that leads us to the other side of the coin. We've talked a lot about the software getting confused, but what happens when the hardware itself starts to fail? Because these cars are not museum pieces. They get old. The sensors get dirty. The wires corrode.
This is where we have to look at the G-Wagon, the G-Class, the Icon.
The ultimate tank. The car that is supposed to be able to drive through walls and last forever.
Supposed to. But we have two incredible case studies, one from the YouTuber Matt Armstrong and one from Legit Streetcars, that show that the modern G-Wagon is less of a tank and more of a computer tower sitting in a mud puddle.
Okay, let's start with Matt Armstrong. He's famous for rebuilding crashed supercars. He bought a crashed 2020 G63. It had some pretty serious front-end damage. Now, in the old days, you'd hammer out the fender, check the radiator, and turn the key.
Not anymore. That's a different world. Matt got the car. It looked fixable. But it wouldn't start. It was a complete brick. Wouldn't crank, wouldn't do anything.
And he went through absolute hell trying to figure it out. He thought the engine was seized because it wouldn't even turn over. He took the whole engine out of the car.
A massive job. He replaced the starter motor. He checked the pyro fuse, which is a special fuse that literally has a small explosive charge in it. In a crash, it blows up to cut all power from the battery to the rest of the car to prevent fires.
And the pyro fuse was fine. The engine was fine. The starter motor was fine. So why on earth wouldn't the car start?
You're not going to believe it.
Tell them what it was.
It was the brake pedal switch.
A $20 piece of plastic.
A tiny little switch that sits under the brake pedal. Its only job is to tell the car's main computer, yes, the driver is pressing the brake. Because the car is programmed for safety, it will not allow you to start the engine unless your foot is on the brake.
It's another one of those logic gates.
It's the ultimate logic gate. If brake pressed equals true, then allow start. The switch had been broken in the crash, so the computer never got the true signal. It didn't matter that Matt had a perfectly good multi-$100,000 V8 engine. It didn't matter that he had the key. The computer said no.
That is just maddening. A $200,000 vehicle, a legend of engineering, rendered completely useless by a piece of plastic worth less than a sandwich.
And it gets even worse. After he finally figured that out and fixed it, he ran into the coding mismatch problem.
Oh, this is the organ transplant rejection thing.
That's a perfect analogy. The gearbox casing was cracked in the crash, so he had to replace the whole unit. He bought a perfectly good, used replacement gearbox from another 2020 G63. Same part number. Same hardware. It should be a simple swap, right?
Bolt it in, plug in the wires, drive away.
Wrong. The engine control unit, the ECU, and the gearbox control unit, the TCU, have an encrypted digital handshake. They need to be introduced to each other via proprietary Mercedes coding software. The car saw this new gearbox, and its computer said, "I don't know you. You are a stranger. I refuse to work with you." And it wouldn't shift out of park.
So you can't even fix your own car with genuine, identical parts anymore.
Not without a high-level diagnostic tool and a connection to the Mercedes mainframe in Germany to bless the repair and authorize the digital handshake. It's the complexity trap. You might own the physical hardware, but Mercedes owns the software that decides whether or not it's allowed to work.
And then you look at the older G-Wagon, the legit streetcar story. This is a 2002 model, so much older, much less computerized. But even back then, the complexity was creeping in.
This was a diagnostic nightmare of a different sort. The G-Wagon is famous for its 3 locking differentials, front, center, and rear. Pushing a button on the dash locks them, forcing the wheels on an axle to spin at the same speed for maximum off-road traction.
If you are seriously off-roading, you absolutely need these to work.
Right, so the driver pushes the button, the little red light on the dashboard turns on, diff locked.
So you think you're safe. You think you have traction. You head up this slippery hill.
But you don't. The lockers weren't actually engaging. The car was lying to the driver. The dashboard said active, but the mechanicals were completely dead.
Oh, was a gear broken or something?
Oh, nothing so simple. It was a ridiculous Rube Goldberg machine of actuation. To lock that differential, the car uses engine vacuum.
Vacuum? Like from a vacuum cleaner.
Exactly. The engine creates suction. That suction runs through a plastic tube to a vacuum pump. That pump triggers an electrical solenoid switch. That solenoid opens a valve to push hydraulic brake fluid down another line. That fluid travels to a pressure intensifier, and that finally pushes the mechanical actuator that moves a pin to lock the gear in the differential.
That is insanely needlessly complicated.
It is 6 potential points of failure for one simple mechanical action. And in this case, the problem was that the hydraulic fluid had never been changed in 20 years. It had absorbed moisture from the air and had turned into a calcified, rocky sludge. It completely plugged the line.
So the vacuum worked, the switch worked, the light on the dash came on.
Yeah.
But the fluid was basically a solid.
Yes. And because there is no feedback sensor at the end of that long chain to tell the computer, hey, I am actually physically locked, the computer just assumed it worked because it sent the initial signal.
See, this connects directly back to the CLA crash, doesn't it?
It is the exact same fundamental problem, just in a different system.
In the G-Wagon, the dashboard tells the driver, diff locked, when it isn't. It's presenting a false reality. In the CLA, the camera tells the computer, pedestrian, when it isn't. Is presenting a false reality.
We are building cars that rely on a long chain of trust. We trust the camera, we trust the radar, we trust the brake pedal switch, we trust the vacuum line. But when just one link in that fragile chain breaks or gets confused, the driver is the one left holding the bag.
And the driver's the one who crashes or gets stuck in the mud.
Yeah.
Or can't even start their car in their own driveway.
And we are only adding more links to that chain. Look at the 2026 update for the CLA. MVP Auto mentioned the new AI-powered Hey Mercedes virtual assistant.
Oh, great. Now the car has a personality.
And it learns your preferences.
Mm-hmm.
It uses AI to predict what you want to do next. But think about the CLA crash. That was caused by a hard-coded, simple rule. If human, then stop. What happens when we replace hard, predictable rules with opaque AI learning?
Does the car start guessing what's safe?
AI is probabilistic. It doesn't deal in absolutes. It deals in percentages. I am 85% sure that is a pedestrian. I am 90% sure the driver wants to turn left here because they usually do. What if the AI learns that you can brake for pigeons? Does it start slamming on the brakes every time it sees a bird's shadow?
If a hard-coded system is brittle, an AI system is opaque, we often don't know why it makes the decisions it makes.
Exactly. If the CLA had a true AI brain and it crashed, and we asked Mercedes why it stopped, they might genuinely say, we don't know. The neural network made a connection between inputs that we can't see or explain. That is a liability nightmare waiting to happen.
Let's talk about that liability, because that is the massive elephant in the room with the what car crash. The Tesla hit the Mercedes.
By the letter of the law, as it stands today, the Tesla is at fault. Failure to maintain a safe stopping distance.
But the Mercedes performed an illegal maneuver. Brake checking is illegal. If I did that to you on the highway just to mess with you, I'd be arrested for dangerous driving.
Correct. The Mercedes brake checked the Tesla, but the driver of the Mercedes, well, he didn't do it. The code did it. So who is the driver? Is it Will? Is it the team of programmers in Stuttgart? Is it Mercedes-Benz as a corporation?
If I'm the Tesla driver, I'm suing Mercedes. I'm standing in court saying your product acted negligently and caused this accident.
And Mercedes lawyers will stand up and say, our product acted safely to prevent a potential loss of life. Our programming prioritizes the safety of pedestrians over the risk of a rear bumper being damaged.
It's the trolley problem in real life, isn't it? The car saw a ghost on the tracks and chose to sacrifice the Tesla's bumper to save the theoretical, non-existent pedestrian.
And until we have a legal framework that holds the manufacturer directly responsible for the hallucinations and bad decisions of its software, we are in this very dangerous gray zone. Right now, if you buy a car with AEB and it causes a crash like this, your insurance premiums go up. Not Mercedes, yours.
It feels like a fundamental betrayal of trust. I buy the driver assistance package because I want to be safer. I want to protect my family. But you're telling me that that very package might be the thing that puts my kid in a neck brace because it got scared of a shadow during a merge.
It is the active safety paradox. And we have to be fair, these systems do save lives. We absolutely have to acknowledge that.
Yes, credit where it's due. AEB stops thousands upon thousands of low-speed rear-end crashes every year because people are distracted looking at their phones.
Absolutely. Overall, it is a massive net positive for society. But for the individual, for the person in that specific CLA or the unlucky person stuck behind it, the failure mode is terrifying. We have tuned these systems to be so paranoid, so risk-averse, that they have, in these edge cases, become hazards in themselves.
It's like driving with a nervous grandmother in the passenger seat who screams every time she sees a leaf blow across the road. Except the grandmother can actually reach over and slam on the brakes.
Laughs. That is a perfect description.
Right.
And you can't tell the car to calm down. You can't reason with the code and say, it's okay, it was just a photographer.
So where does this leave us? We've gone from a damp road in Wales to the high-tech suspension of the Maybach to the broken vacuum lines and confused computers of the G-Wagon.
I think it leaves us with a need for a healthy skepticism. We are being sold the dream of the autonomous future, the idea that the car knows better. Relax, the marketing says, the car has got this.
But the reality is, the car is guessing. The car is looking at a two-dimensional camera feed and trying to figure out if that blob of pixels is a person or a poser or a shadow. And sometimes, it guesses wrong.
And when the physical hardware underlying that guess, the sensors, the switches, the hydraulic fluid, the vacuum lines, gets old and tired and dirty, the guesses are only going to get worse.
I think my big takeaway is this. The technology is amazing. I genuinely love that the S-Class can jump to protect you. I love that the CLA tries to save pedestrians. But I am not ready to give up control.
No. The driver still needs to be the final authority, the ultimate override. We cannot outsource our survival instincts to a sensor that might be confused by a slightly unusual Tuesday.
I want to leave you with a thought to chew on next time you are driving. You're cruising along. Maybe you have the adaptive cruise control on. Maybe you're letting the lane keep assist gently steer for you. You feel safe. You trust the machine. But just remember the ghost in Wales. Remember that your car is constantly watching the world, and it might see things that you don't.
And ask yourself, if the car decides to panic, are you ready to catch it? Are you paying enough attention to override its mistake?
Are you driving the car, or is the car just letting you hold the wheel for a while?
That is the question we all have to answer.
Safe driving, everyone. Keep your eyes on the road, and maybe watch out for ghosts.
Indeed. Watch your six.